What makes them mad about it? What makes them mad about it is that they have black people and white poor people and red poor people and Puerto Rican poor people and Latin American Puerto Rican people of poor people of all descents. They had them caught up in movements based on racism when the Black Panther Party stood up and said that we don't care what anybody says. We don't think you fight fire with fire fists. We think you fight fire with water fists. We're going to fight racism, not with racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity. We said we're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism. We stood up and said we're not going to fight reactionary pigs and reactionary state attorneys like this and reactionary state attorneys like Hanrahan with any other reactions on our part. We're going to fight their reactions with all of us people to get together and have an international proletarian revolution. Right on. And that's saying all power to the people. Right. That's saying that no matter what color you are, you're just only two classes. And that's saying there's a class over here and there's a class over there. And the reason that this class over here has never did anything to get this class off its back because this is lower, this is upper. This is the oppressed, this is the oppressor. This is the exploited, this is the exploiter. And these people in this class have divided themselves. They say, I'm black and I hate white people. I'm white and I hate black people. I'm Latin American and I hate hillbillies. I'm hillbilly and I hate Indians. So we fight amongst each other. And you've heard the testimony of pigs here. You got pigs of all colors. You know that. You got pigs that are white. You got pigs that are black. You even got pigs that are black and white. Propagating the same type of madness that this buffoon Hanrahan would be propagating if he were here himself. And why? Because they want to keep you to believing that I'm your enemy and that everybody else that's black and that wears a lot of hair on his head and hair on his face, they want to keep you thinking that he's your enemy. Why? Because if ever you would disregard him and overlook him just for a minute and throw away that question of racism and start dealing with a little logic, then there would be no one else you could attack other than Hanrahan, other than Davy, and other than Tricky Dicky Nixon. If you make the right decision, then the oppressed people of the world get complete satisfaction. I know you return a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Hello, my friends. Hello, my family. We are back. We are back once again. Welcome to Revolutionary Blackout Monday Live. CJ taking today off, but we're going to have a great conversation. One of the main focuses of this channel has, at least something I focus on a lot, state violence. That no one, I don't think anyone on the left cover state violence, police violence, the violence of the state more than I do. Because if you're focused on class-based politics and uplifting the worker, ignoring our fascist police state thugs that is meant to uphold racial hierarchy and implement class divides, that is deeply unserious. If the people that is not focused on the police as right now as the number one enemy of workers, they are not being serious about political commentating. It's the most important domestic policy that we can discuss, the issue with the policing. A lot of people pretend it's not because that destroys their whole two-party duopoly bullshit narrative game. So this is something I've been focused on for quite a while. You guys know my great friend Zoya's Love, Zoya's Life. We founded 10 Demands so we can discuss policing and give an answer to that, a solution to that. So I want to introduce Awkward and Zoya. I co-founded 10 Demands with them 2 years ago, and I give them a ton of credit in terms of helping me radicalize. Because when we first created 10 Demands, I was like, yeah, I hate the police. I always hate the police. But I'm like, yo, is this really possible? And then we start brainstorming, come up with this list of abolition theory. So I give them a lot of credit for where I'm at right now in abolition theory. So this is my 10 Demand brothers and sisters. Thank you. We got Awkward and my friend Zoe. So are you Awkward? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Thanks, brother. I appreciate your kind words as always. You do incredible work, and to know that I had anything to do with that, that means a lot.
Yeah, good to have you on. It's been a while. Always good to talk to Awk, especially about any policing news and stories. We're gonna cover our main 10 demands, and I'm gonna show you guys the website. But I'm gonna get Zoya in here. Oh, I accidentally closed it. Zoya Love, Zoya's Life. How you doing? Welcome back to RBN.
Hi, hello, Nick, Awk, and everyone watching. So happy to be here with you guys to discuss these important issues. Love both of you. Have definitely learned from both of you as well. And I'm glad we can discuss it with other people now as well.
That's the goal I have with the RBN community. We reject anti-intellectualism and we sharpen each other's knives, right? We make each other better. Like I have all these amazing anti-imperialist journalists that's on. So now when I debate neocon, it's easy because I had the Gray Zone boys on here, Dan Cohen on here, all these great foreign policy people. Same with the policing. Like we sharpen each other's tools, and we had multiple Zoom calls where we was brainstorming these demands. And I'm gonna pass it to you, Awkward, so you can explain. Before we get to our main one, because we doing this video series, you can see the video here. Like this video was our first breakdown of the demand. You can see how I came a long way since then. So we do a video breakdown on every single demand we have because police abolition is very scientific, despite what a lot of the shit lib critics believe. When they say, "Oh, you believe in police abolition? You got no plan." Exact opposite, right? So we do these video series where we talk about each one of these demands, and we are here. So we're gonna talk about installing community representation, oversight, and safety measures. That is what this video is based on because we have done videos talking about our previous demands before, and I'll put a link to this website in the description if you guys want to check out all the other demands. For example, you guys see we start with defund the police, reallocate resources to impacted communities, demilitarizing the police, and we got all these demands that is a step to abolition, and we explain how that works here, the road to abolition. But I want to hear from Ak. Ak has done amazing work. Obviously helped, and I chimed in on the demands, but I would love to hear like what was your mindset when it came to creating demands, why you think it's so important before we get started on the sixth demand.
Sure. If I may, I just want to quickly say that it's such an interesting, and stop me if I'm way off topic. Like I know I'm off topic, but it's interesting. You
know
guys,
what we do all the time on this show.
You guys talk about intellectualism, and it's such an interesting concept because if you think about the public intellectual, typically that individual is up in some ivory tower and is separated from the people. And so the idea of intellectualism has kind of been rejected because it assumes that the person speaking is thinking only theoretically or does not have the lived experience, is not directly impacted, et cetera, et cetera. You know, the way that I'm impacted is obviously very different from the way you are, Nick. And so that can still remain true even when you're not an intellectual. That, you know, from my angle, it's more important to share other people's stories or facts as opposed to the instances I've had with police or with jails and things like that. But you're talking about it, just to clarify for people, in a different way. You're not saying that, you know, you in Rome have separated yourself, for instance, from the people. You're still on the streets, but you're telling people that it's okay to think, basically, right? And that like there are theoretical and intellectual relationships to the lived experience, basically, and it helps us understand that lived experience and how we can change that lived experience. You're on mute, Nick.
Sorry, I'm producing. But I also want to add this, if you don't mind me interrupting, because just some people hear me say this, because I think one of the biggest problems on the left is the embrace of anti-intellectualism that was installed by the CIA. And in the first response, and I love your reaction to that, because people will say, "Oh, well, you don't need a college degree, you don't need education," and I'm like, I strongly agree with you. I'm a college dropout. That is not what I'm talking about.
Yes.
When I'm fighting against the anti-intellectualism, I'm talking about us coming together and debunking and educating ourselves, and debunking mainstream logic, educating ourselves on history, teaching each other how to become better community advocates without canceling people. Right? You know, this is how we grow as a community. I'll give you back here. I want to get Zoya here as well. Zoya, anything you want to add? Anything you want to add to your sketch on why you started to demand that you want to take over before I get back to Ak in here?
Yeah, I just want to comment on what Ak is saying before I bring us back into what we were going to introduce.
Supposed to? Yeah.
We have time.
Yeah, I think, it's no accident that the establishment, and it's been this way throughout history, that education has not been accessible to the masses. And that's still playing out in real time. College tuition has increased drastically in decades, and it's become something that only people that are either willing to be indebted for the rest of their life or elites can have access to. So it's unfortunate that our publicly funded institutions are failing to educate us. That's why the onus falls on us, independent voices and organizers, to go out there and share this information and debunk the enormous amount of propaganda that the police departments have hundreds of millions of dollars to spread.
Right.
That's why the work we do here is so important. And that leads me into why we started 10 Demands, because when there was an outrage amongst the people, galvanized by George Floyd, although George Floyd was not a unique incident, it just happened to be filmed and go viral. And it was shedding a light on something that's a common problem, because cops kill 3 people per day. So then when we had the people galvanized, everyone was like, well, what's the solution? And those who were advocating for defunding the police or abolishing the police were instantly, met with criticism of, you have no plan. This will never work. You just want chaos. And that's why we came together, and we spend a lot of time researching and turning to other great minds and history and of massive work of literature to inform our stances on how we can propose a plan of slowly working within the system we have to transition towards abolition step by step. And that's how we came up with the 10 Demands.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add to that is just that as the 10 Demands are implemented, so to speak, as the various proposals are put in place across the country, we're also working to develop alternative mechanisms in all of our communities so that we don't need the system at all. If we have community defense, mutual aid, we provide our own health care. We find places for the houseless people in our communities to sleep, or we protect them from the police. Whatever it is, there's a million different things that people like us and we ourselves are building in our communities. And that's also what makes organizations like, Who Can I Call so important. Their website lists all the policing alternatives. And that's something that we're going to be talking about today. And the other part of it for me was people look at police brutality and police violence and even see that it's 3+ people a day and aren't necessarily able to make the connection between that and slavery, between that and mass incarceration, and mass criminalization, and that, as well as the connection between the prison industrial complex and the military industrial complex, and the two of them as part of this capitalist machine. So one of the parts that I think was so important in creating the 10 Demands was also including things like, as we'll discuss on future videos, reparations and ending carceral punishment.
Absolutely. Sorry, I wasn't cutting you off.
No, that was the end.
Okay, yeah. So, and if you want to see details for every single one of the demands, I think they will. I'm actually going to read them off in order, and then we're going to dive into demand number 6, just so you guys can see the framework that we are working on. The first one is defund the police, reallocate resources to impacted communities. Number 2, demilitarize the police. Number 3, eliminate discriminatory policing, prosecution, and sentencing. Number 4, institute complete law enforcement transparency and accountability. Number 5, independently investigate all police crimes and abuses of power. Number 6, install community representation. This is the one we're going to cover today. Oversight and safety measures. And what does community representation mean? We're going to talk about that on the show today. Number 7, end strategic counter-protest violence. I really can't wait to we get to this one, guys. If I'm going to be 100% honest. especially because this is something I've been covering this a lot. When you look at how our police crack down on dissent, it's something that dictators and fascists will salivate for. That's all I'm gonna say. Number 8, apologize and provide reparations. You just mentioned that. Number 9, end the war on drugs. 10, end carceral punishment. So that brings us to number 6. This is our demand for today. I'm gonna start with Zoya this time. I think I'll start with awkward first last time. Just so you can speak about your mindset in creating this demand. I'm gonna read it here, just so they can have the official. And by the way, I know we got the video. I hope you guys saved these. By the way, you see these paragraphs? Like these paragraphs was really well made. We replaced the paragraph with the videos. I really hope we have those somewhere. But anyway, I'm gonna read just a paragraph and I pass it to Zoya and Og, so you guys can.
Wait, Nick.
Just
so people know, all you have to do to see the copy is click the down caret thing or whatever they call it.
This? Oh, I'm an idiot. I thought it was gone. Okay, how about say, bro? I really hope y'all didn't take that away.
Not after the amount of effort that went into that.
I was about to say, man. I was like, I was looking at it like, did they really take that down? Okay, I'm glad y'all kept that. Anyway, I'm gonna read this. I'll pass it to Zoya, and then we do Ak. Elect independent community councils for needs assessment, municipal decision-making oversight, prioritizing representation by marginalized groups, invest in community-based public safety measures, including peacekeepers and wellness checks, intervention, violence prevention, skill-based education, mental health services, substance abuse treatment, mutual aid, mediation, and reparative justice. Mandate state level monitoring for proper checks and balances. So I would love to pass it to Zoya because a lot of people always ask, like, what is the plan? That sounds like public safety to me, which is the goal, right? But I won't pass it to Zoya. Anything you want to add? And Awkward, you can chime in after, and we can kind of keep it casual here. Zoya, anything you want to add about your mindset and why you think this demand is so important?
Yeah, I mean, this really answers the question of what replaces policing and how we can get going on it right now. By the way, at the top of our page on the website, you'll see a take action button. So for anybody that's wondering what they can do right now, today, they can click on that button and start making a change on local levels. And as far as everything that's listed, I mean, that demand is very concise. Yeah, you see the take action button right at the top of our page. So, intervention and wellness checks and reparative justice, these are all things that we want to replace the current system we have, which is purely punitive. The purely punitive system does serve capitalism because it targets the marginalized communities the most. We know this from statistical information. So here we're talking about actually creating a community that serves itself by preventing resources that would prevent crime, by not taking someone that is perhaps facing a substance abuse issue or is a victim of their circumstance. Maybe they're stealing simply because they're hungry. And we're actually addressing the things that would lead to crime, or crime as is defined in our society. Because really what's causing crime in our society, as I see it right now, is the needs that are unmet of the people. And we're talking about how we can meet those needs so that crime doesn't happen in the first place. And that is something that is never discussed in our politics. They just want to focus on the outcome of a broken system and neglect, and then put people into modern day slavery, which is these prisons, force them to be free labor for all of these corporations. And then they wonder why we have 25% of the global population incarcerated right here in America, the land of the supposedly free. Poverty is not a crime. People who cannot access education, who cannot access jobs, have no option but to survive. And in surviving, they are violating the standards that society has set. And all we are talking about is going into communities and giving them what they need: the education, the resources, job placement, education, everything they need in order to get housing, get food, get basics, things that should be universal rights. Our city budgets, over 50% are allocated to police funding rather than the needs of the people. How is that a system that makes sense? Isn't that our money? Isn't that money that should be going to us? Instead of putting our brothers and sisters and fathers into prison, which, by the way, then reverberates through the entire community and the entire family, because once someone you love is in jail, your resources are being tapped into. That entire system takes advantage. Every phone call, I have people that are in jail. It costs so much money to be in touch with your loved ones, to go see your loved ones who are often incarcerated very far away from where you're at. And COVID has made things significantly worse. So they are extrapolating all of this money from us to profit the carceral system while doing nothing to improve our communities. And then there's so much damage and so much trauma, and that is passed on generationally and through our communities. But here we're talking about forming a system of solidarity, of where you know your neighbor, where you help your neighbor, where you can intervene and be like, hey, don't do that. What do you need? What's going on? How can I help? There's even been an instance where fathers went into school because there was, we shared it before, where
we covered that. It was a good story. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was incidents of violence and bullying happening in the school. So the fathers took time off, which I understand not everyone can do, but this is community involvement. They were on campus and they weren't punitive to anyone. They were just educating them on how to get along, how to talk out their issues, how to get to resolution. These are skills. These are skills that need to be taught, and they're not taught in a punitive society.
And once again, isn't the goal of law enforcement public safety? Because whenever I hear the critics, and you can take this one on as well, Awkward, and add your take on the sixth demand. But whenever you hear the critics of abolish the police, defund the police, they say, "Oh, well, what are you gonna do about safety?" That's essentially the objection. But if you look at number 6 here, there's nothing more that is addressing safety than this demand. For example, if someone is having a mental health episode, you're putting them in danger by calling the police. But under our system, you're providing public safety for the family and you aiding the person that is harmed. When you look at everything else here, wellness checks, intervention, violence prevention, this is what public safety looks like. Not imposing regressive fines and fees on the working class and locking people in cages. You guys understand? Mutual aid, mediation, reparative justice. Like this is what public safety look like. But Awkward, you want to take it on regarding your thoughts on why you think number six is so important, why we include that as a demand on itself. Go ahead, Awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything you guys said was absolutely right on. I mean, not only are we paying billions for the police, but when they are corrupt, commit a crime like planting evidence or stealing from you, or obviously when they beat the crap out of someone or when they murder someone, we pay. These people have, first of all, they're protected by qualified immunity, their unions, and all types of corruption. So there's very, very infrequently, about 1%, 1.5% of the time, are police even charged with anything. The victims of their torture and terrorism, of course, deserve a different type of reparations, which is civil. And of course, the system is set up so that the taxpayers who paid for the police in the first place, instead of these things from Demand 6, are also paying the millions of dollars in payouts to these deserving families. Of course, the cost of incarceration to taxpayers is also obscene. And of course, I think Zoya mentioned that the profit to corporations is equally obscene. And the phone call situation with the price gouging is a perfect example of what prison is really about. It is not about rehabilitation. It's not even about penitence. It's not designed to push out people who have new opportunities. It's designed to let those people out and make it nearly impossible to do so that they can return and, you know, be new slaves all over again. So to me, you know, I think, as everyone has kind of said, number 6 is about preventing all of that. There are opportunities for these corporations to profit in lots of other ways. So no, I don't buy the idea that we need to literally demolish capitalism for abolition to be feasible. It's essential to understand that abolition isn't a occurrence. It's not a moment in time. We're all abolitionists, and we're all creating abolitionist alternatives and working from the inside as well. You know, so someone sending books, which we at 10 Demands are working on doing now, to incarcerated people who are working on getting them actual food that isn't rotten, getting rid of the rats, whatever it is, that's critically important, because as Nick said, this isn't happening overnight. These are steps toward abolition. And there, as I said, there are communities all over the country doing all of these things already. And the more strength we have behind these, the more community involvement we have behind them, the more powerful our institutions are, and the less and the more able we'll be to keep outsiders away. You know, police from other towns don't belong in our communities. Police who don't look like us don't belong in our communities. You know, and obviously those who don't understand us don't either. So last comment is I'll point to just the first sentence, and that's to begin this process.
Do you want me to pull it up for you, or do you have it?
I have it. I mean,
okay.
But for anyone who's watching, if you want to pull it up for them,
yeah, I got them.
So the first step is to create these councils and to make sure that these councils are not what would the word be? Are not filled by cops, you know, school administrators, CPS workers, or a bunch of unimpacted people, rich people. We need the people who are impacted by the oppressive forces most to be the ones making the decisions, because they know best what will work. And so that group of individuals can work together to identify and lay out the needs. They should pass that on to the government, but they should also work on them themselves. Same with the decision making. You know, how are we going to implement these things? How are we going to make sure they're working and not being corrupted like all of our government institutions? You know, and then in addition to all the things we've talked about, the last sentence, something that would be really nice to have, right? If we could trust whoever this is, it would be good to have someone looking at all the individual municipalities, because it is most often local cops who are killing people.
Yeah, well said. I actually want to give you guys talk. I think this is a good question and something I've been thinking about. I think I got an answer. I actually want to give you guys take on this. This from John. I'm not sure if this will come up later, but I'd like to ask, how do we handle the community oversight in white supremacist communities? That got to be inevitable. I'm actually very curious on hearing what you guys' thoughts on this, but my first reaction to this was, I'm trying to stop our fascist white supremacist system cops from occupying my neighborhoods. Like, and I'm just speaking as a black man here. That's my number one priority. So if I had control over our neighborhood and stopping these people from occupying our neighborhoods, I'm 100% okay with that. If you are white and there's like, if there's like a white supremacist stronghold, if they want to have fascist cops that pull them over and impose regressive fines and fees, they can punish themselves, but keep that shit out of our community. But anyway, I would love to get your take on that, Aqua. I'm like working this out.
Oh God, do I love this?
Personally, keep that shit out of our communities. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead. What's your take on that, Aqua?
I love this question, because I grew up, before I knew what abolition was, I was walking around beating up Nazis. And now as an abolitionist, I actually don't think that's a smart policy. And all my Antifa haters are going to hate that too. I think there are other ways to do this. And this is all leading to an answer to your question. Cops, by the way, are all fascists anyway. Cops are all white supremacists. Even the black ones are white supremacists.
Oh yeah, trust me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I co-sign that, by the way.
I wouldn't have said that if I didn't already know you agreed, right? Like that would be touchy, but it's true. And that's not even necessarily their intention. They may not understand it. They may even do everything they can to not do that. But by watching their brothers in arms beat the shit out of people and do all the other stuff they do and not reporting it, I mean, it's impossible. The whole they talk about rotten apples. The reality is that policing was created as a white supremacist institution immediately following slavery, through black codes to put as many people back into slavery on the chain gangs. And, as we talked about through the prison industrial complex, we maintain that system of slavery. And so the people who have been leading the police have always been white supremacists. The idea that they've infiltrated departments since the 70s is foolish. They've been white supremacists.
That's such a good point.
Obviously, we don't want the white supremacist cops or the white supremacists in hoods or in black and yellow dumb uniforms to be in Nick's neighborhood. But as long as there are cops like Nick, I don't really care which individual cops happen to be in the communities of white supremacists. But I'll add,
if it's a white supremacist stronghold, like Joplin, Missouri, like there was reports of KKK sightings there, right? And black people don't go there. If there's a white supremacist stronghold, we're not there.
Yeah,
right.
But
So
I'll tell you,
go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's cool. But I will tell you who is there, and this will gain me a few points with Antifa. They are there. They're going and looking for them and showing our power, which is critically important. And the other people who are there are the former Nazis. So this is my last comment. What I'd love for those neighborhoods is to work toward abolition as well from your far right angle. I mean, if you want to focus, if you consider yourself a Republican and a conservative, focus on the cost to taxpayers if you want to. There's a million reasons we shouldn't be doing this. And again, like the reason Nick and his people are often trying to have these conversations is that we have a lot more in common with the misinformed, poor white supremacist than we have with the rich, highly educated politician who knowingly fucks us. And the problem is that we don't understand that. So I, of course, am not going to be the Jew to go into that community and try to explain that to them, because I'm not prepared to have fist fights and baseball bat fights anymore. Those Nazis, I should say those former Nazis are already doing that work. Many of them, they go into these communities and try to get other people to understand that they've been victimized by generations of disinformation. And here is the reality. Here's who's really fucking you. It's not the blacks who are owned by the Jews, who are owned by George Soros. It is these people. And so it's not a priority to me either, Nick, whose cops, which cops are there. But I'd like to see them also try to get rid of their cops and also try to be less white supremacist.
Yeah. I hope I explained that's a good question. Because my first reaction was like, okay, because I said before, and I say this because I think this is the path to abolition. If I have my community that is mostly black, I think it's around 40% black where I live at. Then another 20% Latino. Then a lot. Then like 40% of white people are like super down. The white people have been groomed by black people, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Like me.
So, yeah, exactly. So there are obviously some fucked up white people here, like in my immediate community, but most of the white people that live here have been around black people. They are comfortable around black people. And the least racist people are the people who hang out around black people. Racist people are the people usually segregated, and they're only from all white communities. So they get their interpretation of black people based on what they see in the media. So I am not afraid of that in my community. Now, if you because I really, and I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that. I think the path to this is definitely going to be local. And if you're a local area with a ton of white supremacists, there's nothing I can do that can stop you from getting police arraigned from your area. Only thing I'm asking is keep that shit out. Is that clear? Like, if you want to have a fascist local police zone where you guys are getting fined constantly, where you got police that are doing civil asset forfeiture in your white supremacist communities, go for it. Just keep that shit away. That's all.
Yes.
I think that's consistent to abolition belief. But Alcor, I saw you on mute, and then we get Zoya after that.
No, it is. I mean, I think for the most part, we're all pretty consistent. I mean, because I don't think there was much disagreement, correct me if I'm wrong, with what I said about us believing that anyone is capable of transformation.
Yeah, I believe that. I think some people are gonna be harder than others.
Absolutely.
But I think the idea, if you really believe that there's some people that are irredeemable, I'm not talking people post crime. Like, if you rape someone, you're irredeemable because you post crime. But someone with just bad ideas,
I don't agree with that, Nick. Let's take that offline and we'll like do something with it. All right.
Fair enough. My overall point being, if you don't believe people are redeemable, then that's not a leftist take. That's not a leftist philosophy. And you can't spread leftist philosophy if you don't believe that people are redeemable. Now, the people who believe in giant police states, they see people committing a crime, and they're like, okay, just lock them up, ruin their life forever because that's a bad apple. If you believe that, you're inherently not left. But Zoya, I know you want to chime in. I want to get your take on your take.
Well, the entire theory of abolition is the belief that people are redeemable. It is the entire foundation.
Yeah.
See, no, I mostly agree with you guys. Alcor corrected me on something that, but I agree. I agree 100%.
No, and that's just because you're a good ally, Nick, and you stand with women. And I, as a survivor, appreciate that. But we're talking about where we need to be at. We're not there today. As of right now, I definitely want to see, rapists like Biden and Trump held accountable. Mm-hmm. These people in power who have been getting away with it for a long time. But then we have to tackle systemic change to actually prevent this from continuing throughout time for the next generations and so on. So when we talk about abolition, we talk about how do we redeem people? Am I capable of forgiving my rapist? Yes, I am. That has been a process that took me decades to get to develop that level of compassion, to understand that hurt people. And as long as we respond to pain with more pain, we are just going to continue the endless cycles of pain forever. But that's why I also shared a link with you, which is a perfect story to illustrate this. And for some background, it was a popularized book and movie. I brought it up many times, of a Black activist named Ann Atwater. And she was forced into a situation with a white Ku Klux Klan man during a charrette, which was a community meeting where they came together to try to decide how they can integrate schools. And there were these opposing factions of people who literally were burning crosses, lynching people, like to the extreme, not just rhetoric, but there was actual violence and such hate to the community. And Atwater actually pulled a knife during a city council meeting at CPLS at some point. So you guys understand how much these people really hated each other and were on the opposite side of things. And in 2 weeks of working together, of discussing their children, of discussing their economic circumstances, he denounced the Ku Klux Klan and started organizing with her and touring the nation and talking about Black issues and the need for school integration in 2 weeks. So yes, maybe some people are tougher to reach than others. And with our limited energy, we have to pick and choose and definitely go towards the people who are most reachable first, because then as we create community, as people see these things working, it will reach others organically. And then people will question, why am I a part of this hateful group? Why am I picking on someone else who's also struggling to put food on the table or pay the bills? How is this person harming me? And then they start questioning, who is harming me? Who is actually oppressing me? And how can we address that together?
Well said, Zoya. I wanna put this in because I want to show this. Actually, before I do that, because I want to show. Actually, Final thoughts on demand 6, because I think they're gonna lead to a whole nother segment. I can tell. So we got like 20 minutes. Any final thoughts on demand 6? Because I don't want to go too far off. But awkward Zoe, any final thoughts on that? Cause I think we did a good segment on that. Final thoughts.
Zoya, do you want to add anything?
If not, you guys are just passing. We can move.
I just want to say that sending in and funding qualified professionals, whether it be paramedics or social workers or therapists, does a lot more good than sending in people with guns that shoot first and ask questions later, and often target people who have never been convicted of a crime. They misidentify people and they just shoot innocent people, children included. These are death squads, and we should not be funding death squads instead of solutions.
So for the people who are joining just now, we just finished our discussion about our 6th demand. It's install community representation, oversight, and safety measures. And that's what these videos are for. And on this website, you can see that we covered each of these demands in great detail. And as Ak pointed out, we still have the paragraph here, which I was worried for quite a while. Like, damn, I can't believe those paragraphs are gone, but I'm glad they're still here. So, Ak, was there anything else you want to chime in before I move on to our quick rapid fire?
I guess I'll just finish up by saying that if anyone's interested in seeing real life examples of this, I've shared it before, and I'd be happy to share it again in whatever way. And also, I just like to quickly, and for me, this feels, maybe because I was part of the team that wrote it, but it feels intuitive, but I'm not sure it does as the reader. So I just want to walk you through the second paragraph, which is really the heart of it. Basically, what we're saying is that instead of essentially foreign patrols in your neighborhood, you would have people who, as the type of people that Zoya described, people who are trained to understand mental health issues, substance abuse issues, whatever, performing regular wellness checks based on community understanding of those who need it. During issues or before issues begin, there are actual professionals and programs designed to intervene and prevent violence. Peacekeepers are brought in as a last thing to try to prevent violence. Education, mental health services, substance abuse treatment, these things are happening in parallel to help people actually experience what equity might feel like, which then might lead to inclusion. Mutual aid simultaneously is ensuring that people have the clothes, the food, the funds they need to stay in the community, to not become houseless and then arrested and sent off into the system. And finally, mediation and reparative transformative justice is what happens after, because like everything else, abolition is not a utopia. It's still, we're still human beings. Mistakes are made. And as a result, things will still happen. And we understand that, and so should everyone else. And finally, the mediation and reparative justice, transformative justice, that's designed to not only provide the victim with resolution, with, through community service and other things, a feeling of justice that the majority, and the stats are there, the majority of victims say they do not feel from incarceration or the death penalty. And not only that, the perpetrator, who almost always has been a victim themselves, is transformed in that process as well. And through community service, becomes a stronger, healthier, more engaged member of the same community.
A lot of great things that was said by you, Awkward, and a great way to wrap that segment on the 6th demand. With the last 15 minutes, while I have you here, I love to talk. I love to go through the headlines. I love talking about criminal justice stories with Awkward and Zoya. It's always fun. Gotta do this more often. So this is great. But anyway, I want to show this receipt because I was digging this up during one of your great rants, Awkward. just to kind of cover what you were talking about. I didn't plan this, but I want to show you guys this. The hidden $1 billion cost of repeated police misconduct. More than 1.5 billion has been spent to settle claims of police misconduct involving thousands of officers repeatedly accused of wrongdoing. And taxpayers are often in the dark. Wonder why. Wonder why there's not a focus of mainstream media or your local news to cover. Oh, if we had a real society that was actually serious, your local news would be like, oh, this police officer fucked up and this cost us this much money. It'd be one main thing we'd be paying attention to.
Guys, look at the fucking. Oh no, go back to it, Nick.
Oh, yeah, I got you. I'll go back. My bad. Here you go.
No, it's cool. Look at this fucking like graph or whatever that is on the right.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I don't even. Yeah. So
wow.
Go to the bottom of it. Like I don't even like. There are officers. There's a guy who has been fucking fined 143 times.
Wow. Oh, I didn't even see that.
What I'm saying? So like he's done way more that he hasn't got caught doing. How is this person still allowed to be a police officer? And so that is directly tied to the fact that the federal tracking system is total bullshit and none of the departments submit to it. And the fact that this is all part of the plan and none of them care. There's an actual term called wandering police. They just literally, oh, I got fired. That's amazing because I've done it 100 times before, but no big deal. Wander down the street, hired immediately at the next department.
They're probably like, yo, I want to reallocate. I want to move. I'm tired of this scenery over here. Let me do something so I can get.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna get vacation. They're gonna suspend me a week without pay, and then I'm gonna go somewhere else. This is great.
Probably get a raise.
Exactly. But I want to share this because you mentioned this earlier during one of your speeches, and this graph I literally wasn't even paying attention. Like obviously the one at the bottom is crazy, but even if you scroll up, like look at this: 5 officers with 100 plus. What? Like even the ones that not crazy, 239 officers with 10. 10 is a lot.
1 is enough.
That's a lot. So obviously the one on the bottom is the most extreme example. But even looking up here, these are a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
3,500 officers with 3 plus. That's a lot. 3 is a lot. I think this happened once or twice. You're done. That's me.
You'd think at any other job it would be.
Yeah, for sure.
But and also like, please understand, anyone who's listening, like this isn't 3 incidents or 2 incidents of being an asshole, of breaking someone's jaw, like whatever it is. This is 3 times they were not only caught, but found guilty and we paid for it.
That's okay. So fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like the people who still push and reforming this, like, bro, you gotta have an alternative. Like, if you're not educated, if you hear these, if you haven't heard these arguments before, I'll give you a pass. But if you heard these arguments, you still like, oh no, man, you abolitionists, dude. I think you got hit in the agenda. I think you.
Here's the thing.
It's so ridiculous.
Here's the thing. There's just so much there's a lot of ignorance, and there's also a lot of I don't even know what you'd call it, but okay, privilege. That's what this is. Yeah. If you're privileged enough to not feel what we're talking about, it's easy for you to say that your message is most important. How you present it is most important, right? And so these people who are saying reform, some of them probably want the exact same things and don't know it. And some of them want the same things and won't say it, because they just want to continue to use a word that is a bad word. Like reform is a bad word, but they won't use the words they should.
And I'm gonna show you guys.
And they tell us not to.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys this here. Since we're talking about reform, this is perfect to my next headline. I want to show you guys and get your reaction. Also show why reform doesn't work. Look at this. Oh, sorry, I pulled the wrong one. This one. In my backyard, I keep an eye on stories, especially in my area. Damn, this site is horrible. But
Sure.
Topeka police refuse. Topeka, that's literally an hour and a half where I live. Topeka police refused to release body camera footage of June fatal officer-involved shooting. Refused to release the body cam footage? What do you mean? What's the fucking point of these reforms if the police can just choose not to comply? And awkward, Zoya, I bet you guys already know what they said. Guess what they said? The police says the person they killed charged at them with the knife. How many times have we heard this, fam? That's really their go-to.
Yeah.
How many times was the knife a piece of foil or something else? In Uvalde, they're charging one of the mothers that was trying to get into the school to save her child from being murdered. They're charging her with 8 years for shoving a police officer as she was trying to get to her child. Right now, we have fully Democratic and one independent city council in Los Angeles that just criminalized homelessness. With people who just say Republicans are fascists, vote Democrat, this is what a fully Democratic California and Los Angeles is liberalville. They're progressive as progressive gets. And
are you telling me there's not a lesson to evil, Zoya? Oh my gosh, don't put this red, brown lines nonsense on my channel. There's nothing wrong with criminalizing homelessness, okay? We're trying to defeat Trump. Do you want the orange Cheeto in the White House? Sometimes you got criminalized homelessness. God damn, Zoya.
As long as Trump goes to prison.
Yeah, as long as Trump goes to prison, it's okay. We send a few of us.
Yeah, as long as we're suffering under Democratic leadership, we can feel good.
Yeah.
So it's not a Democrat versus Republican issue. It's a class consciousness issue. The system is exploiting the majority of the people here. It is not serving us. It is criminalizing our communities. It is devastating our communities, and that is not a system that should be supported.
So I'm gonna read. Look at this, because this is in my backyard, so I'm definitely feeling some kind of way. Yeah. But if your claim is that the person was rushing you with a knife, which the police have said multiple times in multiple instances, and then the camera always proves them wrong. I don't know if you guys seen it, but I literally never seen a story where the police say, "Oh, they charged me with a knife," then video proved them right. I've seen the opposite happen many times. So they're doing the tried and true tactic. They do this because they know the media will report on what they say uncritically. So if you just say, "Oh, they charged at me with a knife," that will get most people, especially people with their minds are still colonized, unlike our channel and our supporters. They will just, "Oh, he charged him with a knife. Of course he deserved to die." Never in question. So, and then this who said this? Couch. He said the credibility of the entire law enforcement apparatus is at stake until it releases the vehicle. I'll read it again. I'll butcher it. The credibility of the entire law enforcement apparatus is at stake until it releases the video. I would say beforehand, but yeah, you make a good point too. Any comments on this story before we move on?
I mean, Zoya, I feel like I've talked too much. So you.
No, but you're saying everything that's on point.
Boy, I want to find that story. I can't find the goddamn link. Because I remember when I first saw that story of that lady who threw that Uvalde cop being charged for 8 years. I tweeted it out and I deleted the tweet in 2 minutes because I thought it was fake. And then it later turned out it was real, and I deleted the tweet for no reason. I thought it was like a fake head. I thought someone told me it was a fake headline, and then I later learned it was real. That's how insane it is. That so many people saw it, like, there's no way that's real.
Right. Real life is
real. I was able to find it, but go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, I'm stating the obvious maybe, but the real life is way crazier than any story a writer would get permission to write. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
the video. Sorry, Zoe. Let's play this video. Can we I was trying to go through our Laffy thing. Last 5 minutes. Let's play the video. Cause you sent me this, Zoe, and then we wrap up after this. I got fun. Sorry, I lost the link that you sent me, but yeah, it's crazy that Uvalde mother, that kind of shit. It's so crazy. But anyway, let's play the video a little bit, and then
someone send me that link though.
Yeah,
already did.
Oh, you're the best.
Well, see, there was a lot of people, poor income black folks, that was afraid to speak up for themselves. And after my learning how to talk, organize, I went out and started dragging them out, making them talk for themselves. And anytime they having a problem, I'd always go with them to support them, but I'd make them talk first for themselves. And when they found out that, and this was back in '64, and they have not stopped calling me as of yet about help. Somebody's up called me this morning, wanted to know what services did my church give and what services do I give. And I told him I just lend whatever God give me to give out. God gave me, number one, the gift to reach out and touch. And when I feel that somebody called me for some help, God wants me to go on record as saying, I tried. All I had was God holding my back. And that's it. I had to wait. I had to really put out there on faith. Then, sure enough.
He still got your back?
He still got my back. And he always will have it, as long as I keep trusting in him.
But you can't sell love.
No, I'm not going to sell out. They said I had, but I am not.
Somebody said you sold out?
Yeah, they said I sold out because I work with a Klansman. And where I work with a Klansman, and he changed from a Klansman to a Christian. And they said I had sold out. Said he was a nigger lover. And we was chosen to be co-chairs to integrate the school system peacefully. CP was the head of the Klan.
So that's the video that Zoya was speaking of earlier. Very inspirational. Zoya, you want to chime in with anything? Any comments after that regarding that video?
I had sent you a screenshot. It's on our DMs in Twitter regarding the Uvalde mom. If you scroll up just a little bit in our DMs.
All right, let me find it.
That's just a powerful story for anyone that didn't know, because anytime we talk about abolition or community, these questions always come up. People come up with the worst scenarios. What about the murderers? What about the white supremacists? Yeah, guys, nobody's saying that this would be easy. Right now, we're living in a sick society, and this sick society indoctrinates people. I teach children. Not one of them is a racist, but by the time they graduate, they probably will be, because they're growing up in a white supremacist culture, and they're being indoctrinated with fear that be scared of all of these other people, and the only thing that stands between you and them is the police. So you have to support the police. And there's all of this stuff in schools about how, the police and firemen are good guys, and be friends with cops, and cops come to school on like career day and talk to you about community safety. But that's not what happens in practice. The police don't protect us. They're just draining resources that should be going into our communities. In school, we should be taught how to help each other, how to form mutual aid groups, how to exchange services, how to provide guidance, and how to provide help. When we're talking about wellness checks and peacekeepers and intervention, this is all showing up with the intention of a solution, not violence, not taking a human being and putting them in a cage.
This is the headline that you sent me, and this is wild. I want to ask you guys this question. How is this protecting and serving the community? How safe do you think the Uvalde people feel now that this mother is spending 8 years in prison for the crime of going after their kids when the cowards refused to?
I mean, I can't believe she was. I mean, I can believe it, but I didn't realize. First of all, I didn't somehow. I've been following this case quite a bit. I had just published an article somewhere.
I didn't think it was real. I literally first saw it. I was like, bro, this can't be real. It can't be.
But the crazy part I'm trying to say is that I had just written an article about why police are not the answer to hate crimes and mass shootings. Then this comes out, and I tried to stay up on it. The point is, I didn't even hear about this. And you did randomly, and then it was so absurd. It is so absurd, right? And it's weird that I didn't hear about it too. And Uvalde,
they kept this under wraps, bro. I don't know
how.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. And Uvalde, in every way, every aspect of what happened is a perfect.
The reason why I deleted tweet, the reason I say that awkward, because I tweeted out and I deleted it in 3 minutes because I did a quick check for it. It was hard to find the article.
Hey, there you go.
I wanted to check, so then it will later confirm true. But
and
sorry,
you
go ahead.
couldn't find it. Exactly. Yeah, and nothing tells the story better about why police do not belong in the schools, creating the school to prison pipeline, than Uvalde. The cops. There was a cop inside. There were cops outside. Didn't matter.
And they're now charging one of the people that actually wanted to do something.
Right.
Like, this is literally kind of shit that will get these motherfuckers redacted. Let me just say that. I don't know, man. I probably shouldn't get me in trouble on YouTube, but I'm just saying if that's my baby mama, not even that. If that's my sister or cousin, them motherfuckers getting redacted. That's all I'm gonna say. Because that's so crazy. Like, it's really the kind of shit that's like immediate revolution level crazy. Like that, the amount that made my blood boil. I don't even know this person. So,
but also they always ask us to empathize with the police officers being scared for their safety, right? We're supposed to understand their emotional state, but here we're not supposed to understand the emotional state of a mother knowing that her child is about to be murdered. That gets no grace in the system, that gets no analysis, that gets no understanding, but every cop has an excuse.
Yep.
And they saying her in 8 years, they must protect the community from a violent mother who assaulted a police officer to save their kid. There's no better headline to illustrate to white supremacists, Nazi-loving Americans that this system does not work. Like, what else do we have to say? I'm sorry, I know I got to use a strong.
No, you're right.
What else do I have to say? What else do we got to show to people?
Can I see the picture again?
Yeah, I'll pull it up again. Like, what else? Like, I literally, like, what do we have to show these people? Like, what would it take for them to realize that we are being protected by fascist goon thugs? Like, I don't know what else to say.
I don't know if you want to do it or if I should do it, but like that, what you're saying needs to be put out there, like intentionally, like as on its own, because look at this woman. Does she look like the kind of person that supposedly is impacted by this system? No, it looks like she looks like she looks like a white supremacist. So yo, it will happen to you too. Although
if you cross the cops, you lose. If you're white, if you cross the cops, you lose your protection. Yeah, is that simple? If you cross the cops, you will lose your protection if you have one. So,
I mean, unless you're also rich and powerful, which clearly she is not.
Yes, and that I was just going to make that point, because if you're rich and powerful, it supersedes everything. You know, Obama's not fearing for his life. Like,
although as a black man, he still is. He actually can't escape that. Like, he knows that in the shadows or from afar, he could get shot by a cop if they don't know it's him.
But that's the whole point. As a rich person, he's never going to travel without his secret service entourage. He's insulated. He's going to places, not the places that we go where we break bread. We're never going to find Obama there by himself. Yes. And of course, there's institutionalized racism.
I know I hear you.
But I want everyone on stream also to understand discrimination is real. These communities, marginalized communities, are targeted the most. These things are real, but they perpetuate these divisions to distract us from the bigger issue of class consciousness and how they're screwing over all of us. So we can at the same time hold space for the trauma that's been experienced by certain communities more than others, and definitely, provide things like reparations and acknowledge the harm that's been done, and at the same time focus on solidarity in moving forward together.
I hear that.
Yeah, this I don't want to keep you guys for too long. This is a great conversation. If you guys are wondering why I have these boxes in the back, it's because I got housed once again another relative who I'm helping moving in. That's why I cut this short, but I help move them in. So if you guys see my tweets, if you guys see our videos, and you guys like, why is Nick Social System so upset? Why is he so deflammatory? Why is he so mean to my favorite politician? This is why. This is the third relative in 2 years. You see the door behind me? That's our basement. That's also a really nice living area. Got carpet. You can put a futon down there. Third relative in 2 years. This motherfucker works every goddamn day. I know, because it's hard to hang out with the motherfucker. I might catch him on the Saturday. Barely see this. He about to live here despite working his ass off because he was priced out. He couldn't keep up with the cost of living despite having 2 jobs. Now he's been evicted. So I want to end with this because I want you guys to understand. RBN, we are done with any motherfucker without a sense of urgency. People are dying. People are going broke. So this is why I, as frustrated as I am today, I am trying to channel that into revolutionary energy to help radicalize people because the shit drives me crazy. That story that we just read about the mom, that shit drives me crazy. And there's so many fucking boutique suburban motherfuckers who are comfortable, who don't have to worry about getting evicted like this, who always want to tone police RBN and social enemy on Twitter because they don't understand our anger. And my response will always be fuck you. Because you guys are not going to tone police me. You guys are not going to tone police RBN. And I'm saying this because I feel some certain type of way today. After hearing the news, he literally came in today, right? Like an hour before my show, told me the situation. I helped him move before the show. So that's why keep that passionate fire in you. Don't allow these motherfuckers to tone police us. As the country is right now, no one has the right to tone police workers. No one. So that's my final thoughts today. Awkward Zoya, any last thoughts you guys have before we sign off?
And no one ever should be tone policing a black man or a black woman or an indigenous person, like, or a trans person. Like, you know, as the token white guy, that's really important to me, which is why I always try to ask you guys if I'm talking too much. Like, not only should I not tell you how to talk, I should also not talk for you. I should not talk over you, et cetera, et cetera.
And the funding that is right now being used to keep my friend in a jail cell, concrete, for marijuana, by the way, should have been the funding going to your relative to provide housing. And that is abolition. And I'm going to repeat a phrase I used before. Defunding the police is about funding community. It is not taking things away. It is adding things to where they belong to create the safety that everyone is really concerned with. And we have to get out of this fear-based mentality of our neighbors, of our fellow workers, and really put in the work. And it will take work. We have to put in the work to get to know our neighbors, to build community infrastructure, and that is the alternative. Then we can point and say, that is the alternative, and we do not need you, and we do not want you.
And just to conclude, we do understand how hard that is. It you know, like Nick can say, or Zoya can say, I think that it didn't happen overnight for them. Right. And like I've said before, it didn't happen overnight for me. So, and that's why, of all the things I could have said in the beginning of the song I made for our group 10 Demands, I chose to quote Angela Parker, a Black woman who wrote an article on Medium, that what this requires is unlearning everything we've been taught since birth about, and this is the end of my memory of her quote, but everything we've been taught from birth about crime and punishment, perpetrator and victim, good and bad, et cetera, et cetera. We understand that. And that, to Zoya's point, is exactly why every time we create one of these amazing community-based solutions, we're very happy to share that information because it works. You just need to see it.
Well said. Thank you guys for joining. Once again, we gotta do this more often. For sure.
Hell yeah, man. We always say that.
We always say that, but life is hard, man.
Yeah.
Life is hard, man. All shit always come up.
Absolutely.
But definitely, we definitely got finished, especially 7th Demand, especially considering recent event and a lot of stuff I've been covering. The 7th Demand is super, super important. So we definitely got to do that here soon.
Yeah, we'll try to get this.
Awkward, where can they find you? Anything you want to
this time I actually remembered to put my Twitter thing up.
Good.
Awkward Rap on Twitter. It's thisisawkward.com. But most importantly, go to 10 Demands on Twitter and go to 10forjustice.com for the group's website. See all the demands. And we also have a ton of resources that we didn't create. Like, our goal is not to big up ourselves. It's to help communities grow and strengthen themselves. And there's so much writing about how to do that.
Zoya, any last thoughts that you have? Anything you want to plug or promote?
Yeah, I'll promote an action. I just dropped the link in our chat to defend Atlanta Forest. They're trying to build a cop playground there, tearing down the environment, destroying old growth trees, just for cops to have a playground on how they can go into communities and murder people.
Yeah, well said. Thank you guys for. Make sure you guys check this out. This is Defend Atlanta Forest.
Yep.
Make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out our website, 10 Demands. I'll put it in the description if you guys want to read through. See how abolition actually works, because abolitions are actually one of the few people who are actually serious about public safety. The people who advocate for giant police budgets, even though we did that before, even though it didn't work, but we try it hard and we really pray and we put our fingers behind our back, it's somehow going to work, even though we do the same thing over and over. They are the unserious ones. The people like us, like if you look at number 6, we are the one who actually advocating for public safety. They're advocating for fascist control of the capitalist security state on our streets. Are we clear? Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys support the Patreon as well. Help us our channel grow.
Please.
I don't know. CJ had a break today because he did 2 streams yesterday. I don't know if I can do RB and Lock. I got to help my friend move tomorrow. So we got content every day. So there are a lot. We got a lot coming up. So make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share. And have a good day, guys.